Hey, I hope you're having a great day. So I'm back. So for today, I wanted to actually back up. So if you're not familiar, the last video that I did, I shared reasons as to why, as you know, myself as a Black person and just as Megan, I think that, knowing that I'm an Israelite has showed me in reading the Bible. Now, I was going to jump right into going into the reasons why, if you are not an Israelite, if you're a Gentile or someone of the other nations, why knowing who the Israelites are is important for you as well. Particularly, I was going to talk about the future as it relates to like the captivity of the other nations, and just like some things that if you are not an Israelite, or a Black person, some things that you should be considering and why this information is important. I was going to actually just kind of jump right into that list, but I thought that I would actually just take a pause and share some scripture, maybe a scripture reading or two, or maybe three in between, because I know that in the next set of videos and talking to people of the other nations, and in dealing with this subject of the coming captivity, once again, I'm just trying to be better about, actually sharing scriptures before doing that, so that I'm just not like talking, right? So for today's video, I actually thought I would read. If you're familiar with like being an Israelite, this is very popular, but if you're not, then this is good because you can become aware. But I was going to do a reading out of Joel 3. And this is like I said, a popular scripture in the Israelite community because it talks about, judgment. But I think this is important. I'm talking about as Megan. When I first read Joel 3, I'm actually excited to share this because when I first read Joel 3, it blew my mind. It blew my mind that it was here the whole time. And I'm saying that because Joel 3, listen, I'm going to actually just plug it. Joel 3, I think, is a fantastic scripture. If you like, as far as who the Israelites are in society and history, it's a great scripture that just kind of like gets to the point. Meaning, like, when I read it, and I stand on this. I say this to this day. After reading Joel 3, I don't understand how anyone could not see that the Israelites are Black. Like, I just don't. A lot of people, I think we're all pretty much familiar with like the Deuteronomy curses, in meaning that Black people who believe they are the Israelites, a lot of the foundation of that is reading the Deuteronomy curses. So these are the curses, right? The curses in Deuteronomy, and then the curses under Leviticus chapter 26. But for me, Joel 3 was huge. Like, when I first read it, I was like, whoa, what? So anyways, I'm saying that I think that this is a good scripture just to share in general. But for the purpose of talking to the other nations, I think this is, a great scripture because it actually confirms that in the future, there will be people that go into captivity, or AKA slavery. So I wanted to read that before I jump into like talking, doing other videos. And then I think if I have time, I wanted to read a scripture out of another book as well, if I have time. So anyways, just to review, the reason that I'm reading this is to start talking about how the other nations will go into captivity, which leads to the theme of, if you are not an Israelite, you need to be aware of this, because biblically it's, this is supported, and, it will help build the foundation for other videos that I'm going to share, right? So that's why I'm doing this. Okay, so let's jump in. So if you have a Bible, you can read with me or you can read on your own. This is coming out of Joel 3. So I'm just going to start. So it says, "For behold, in those days at that time," so this is a future prophecy. Okay? It says, "For behold, in those days and at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered amongst the nations." So the people scattered Israel all, amongst the nations. It says, when they have scattered them amongst the nations, they have also divvied up my land. That's Africa. I'm going to do a video on that, dude. But anyways, that's Africa. Okay. They have cast lots for my people and have given a boy as payment for a harlot and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Verse 4. Indeed, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and O Sidon, and all the coast of Philistia? Will you retaliate against me? But if you retaliate against me, swiftly and speedily, I will return your retaliation upon your own head. Why? Why? Listen. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my prized possessions. Also, the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem, you have sold to the Greeks, that you may remove them far from their borders. Verse 7. Behold, I will raise them out of the place to which you have sold them, and will return your retaliation upon your own head. Verse 8. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabeans, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken. Okay, so I just wanted to read it. So now we're going to go back and talk about it. And again, just to review, the reason why I'm sharing this is because this is a foundational video so when I do the list of why non-Israelites need to know who the Israelites are, this is a foundational scripture that supports that, right? Because in that video, when I do it, the Lord wills, when I do it, I'm going to talk a lot about captivities. And so if I talk about it, you're not going to know what I'm talking about if you are not familiar. And this is not just one scripture. I don't believe in just sharing one scripture, but this is an important scripture. But if you're not familiar with this idea that a people who enslaved a people are going to go into captivity themselves, if you are not even familiar with that, or if you don't, know that the Bible talks about this, then when God, Yah willing, when I share that video, you're not even going to know. So you're going to be lost and you're going to think, maybe I'm just making it up. So I wanted to share this and then also discuss it, because this is one of my favorites, because it helped. This is another scripture that actually helped me see that we were the Israelites, because it's so plain. So let's just talk about it really quickly. I may go over, but I'll just come back for part 2. Anyways, so let's go over some of the foundational scriptures in Joel 3. So first of all, I love this because, again, I think it gets to the point. If you are familiar with the British role, if you're familiar with the transatlantic slave, this is your transatlantic slave trade, Joel 3. Joel 3 is your transatlantic slave trade, period. When I read this, I was like, oh my gosh. So let's just do it. So he says, this is Yah speaking. He says, let me go back. He says, okay, this is verse 3. He says, they have cast lots for my people, have given a boy as payment for a harlot, and have sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Pause. If you study the British role, or the European role, and it's not just, we're not just talking about the Europeans, because everybody enslaved us. So we're not just talking about that. Or not everybody, but the Arabs enslaved us, other nations enslaved us. But this is dealing, I believe that it's prophesying a big portion of the transatlantic slave trade, when the Brits came down unto Africa. So this is, to me, this prophesies this. It says, when they gave a boy as a payment for harlot, they given a boy as a payment for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. If you study it, when the Europeans came to Africa, what did they do? They traded liquor for slaves. So it says, you sold a girl for wine that they may drink. They brought liquor. A lot of this you have to study. You go look into the transatlantic, but this is what happened, right? They went down to Africa. They gave the Africans liquor, and then they took slaves. And then when they got the slaves, they did a lot of abominable sex acts to them. Guys, this is history. We know this now. This is history. So the Europeans, during the transatlantic slave trade, they went down to Africa. They gave the Africans, they gave the people there liquor. So they gave them liquor, and in return, they got slaves. And by the way, the liquor caused them to do all that wars. Then a whole nother thing. Anyway, and then when they got the slaves, they were doing all these abominable sex acts to them. So that's what the Lord is addressing here. So keep going, verse 4. It says, indeed, what have you to do with me, O Tyre, O Sidon, the Azor nations, and all the other coasts of Philistia? Will you retaliate against me? But if you retaliate against me, swiftly and speedily I will return your retaliation upon your own head. So God is saying, I'm going to, these nations that were a part of all of this, I'm going to retaliate to you, upon your own head. So it says, because you have taken, this is verse 5, because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my prized possessions. Okay, verse 6. And the people of Judah, so it's identifying a people. It's identifying a people. And the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem, what happened to them? Listen, this is your transatlantic. You have sold them unto the Greeks. So again, this Greeks, Greco-Roman, so Europeans. So these were people that were traded for liquor and sold to some Europeans, right? This is Judah at least. And it says, why? That you may remove them far from their border. Guys, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh. So Judah at least is a people that were sold to, we know, Greeks or Europeans. They were removed far from their border. So they were taken from their homeland. They were traded for liquor, meaning they were, liquor was traded for them and they had abominable sex acts. If you look into that's your transatlantic. That's your transatlantic, guys. Guys, that's your transatlantic. Okay, right here in the Bible, that's your transatlantic. Okay, so verse 7, behold, I will raise them up. So this is a prophecy, what God's saying he's going to do to the people that this happened to. Behold, I will raise them up out of the place to which you have sold them. So they were sold to a place. So he's saying when they go to that place in the future, God's going to raise them up. So he's saying, okay, this is the Lord, and will return your retaliation upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabians. So he's saying the people that were taken and sold, where they were sold, Yah's going to raise them up. And to the nations that did it, he's saying, I'm going to return unto you in the future what this nation has done, I'm going to do to you. So that the people of Judah eventually will take your sons and daughters, and they will sell them into slavery or captivity unto the Sabians. And then it ends with saying the Sabians are another people, they're a different people. So effectively what this is saying is the people of Judah who were taken into bondage, into captivity, eventually when the Lord, does this, they will sell their oppressors' descendants into slavery. So what this is saying is the people that participated in this, meaning from the oppressor nations, they are going into slavery. And I'm saying this because this is important for when I talk about future videos. I wanted to set this foundation so that I'm not making this up. A lot of Israelites know this, but I don't take it for granted. I didn't always know this. And I was just reading my Bible one day and I read this and I was on my bed and I was like, what? And so I want to say, this is, again, Joel 3, read this for yourselves. I know I kind of brushed through this, but the point was to set this foundational scripture. Oh, and also another foundational scripture I wanted to share, because I'm looking at the time. It's out of the Psalms of Solomon. And it says, I think this is 17, verse 30. And it says, this is Yahusha, and he will have Gentile nations serving him under his yoke, and he will glorify the Lord in a place prominent above the whole earth. So that's just, just saying that under Yahusha's kingdom, okay, I'm actually going to end this soon, and then I'm going to do a part 2, okay? But under Yahusha's kingdom, the nations who took Yah's people into slavery will go into slavery themselves. Okay, they're going to go into slavery themselves. So I'm going to end this here. And in the next one, I'm just going to do more talking. So this will be, I guess, like a part 1. And so I'll come back with a part 2. Okay. Talk to you later, guys. Bye. But this is Joel 3. So your homework is to read Joel 3. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye. Mm-hmm.